Good evening. My name is David Richardson, and I'm with Beyond the Bridges and Journey Beyond Redemption. And tonight we have a guest, Shirley Cooper. Shirley Cooper is from Muncie, Indiana, and she has spent nearly 2 decades in Indiana prison. She was released in 2014. She's here this evening to discuss her re-entry into the community. Good evening, Shirley. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Just to get started, when you were in prison and you were looking forward to your release, what did you imagine it would be like?
Well, my last year of incarceration, I did planning for my release, you know, once I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. So once released, I thought that it would be easy coming home and starting over and getting my life together as far as society and being out in the world again. I thought getting a job would be easy, finding housing and being alone in my own apartment or house would be easy, and it turned out it wasn't as easy as I had imagined before getting out.
Well, did the Indiana Department of Corrections offer any assistance while you were in prison?
Yes, they did. They, sometime towards your release date, like 6 months prior to getting out, they put you in what they call a transition class, which is re-entry, towards re-entry. And in that class, I went and sat in there for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I was given resources, supposedly in the areas that you may be going to live. And I was going to live in Muncie, which is a small city in the state of Indiana. And resources were very limited there, but they had given me resources there.
Well, when you actually got into the community, when you re-entered the Muncie community, how was your actual experience in relationship to what you imagined in prison?
The experience was totally different from what I had imagined. It was harder. A lot of stress and strain and a lot of disappointment. The resources were outdated that I had been given, so I didn't know what resources Muncie had until I actually got out there in the city, and I had to seek and find them on my own, which was very difficult sometimes.
Could you give me 2 or 3 examples that were particularly frustrating?
The housing was very frustrating. There weren't very many places that would reach out to me or even knew of my situation. Even going in on my parole officer didn't know what resources to offer me that I needed after having done 2 decades in incarceration, or even tell me where exactly to get housing or how to get housing or employment. So I began to walk and look and reach out. Today the yellow pages and white pages are almost obsolete, so I knew not to go that direction. So I knew of Work One, and I went there for employment and put my name on the registry or whatnot for employment, but it took time to find employment.
How long have you been out now?
I've been out almost 3 years now. March will be 3 years.
Well, if you could rate your reentry experience during that period of time, let's say on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 not good at all and 10 being the best, how would you rate that reentry experience?
I would rate it much better now. I would rate it probably a 7 or 8 now in my reentry.
Do you have any personal experiences that affect your rating of your reentry? Would you like to talk about?
Yes, I do. Like I mentioned before, jobs were hard to find, housing was hard to find. I located an organization called Bridges Community Services in Muncie, who helped the homeless. And at one time I was entitled to that title. I was homeless. And so they helped me get my first apartment, and that is the apartment I'm in now. I ended up being on the board of directors with the same organization that helped me get housing. Also, they had a senior program that I could work under, and they helped me get employment. And I'm working with the city parks department in Muncie, Indiana.
Well, that's terrific. So you now have employment and you have your own place to live?
Yes, I do.
Well, you've achieved quite a bit.
Yes, I have.
And you've achieved really, really important goals, the housing and employment. Are you working on any specific goals right now, and how are these important to your life?
Very important to my life. Yes, I am. I spend a lot of time speaking. I go to church. I give my testimony. I reach out to still the incarcerated. Like I mentioned, I'm on the board of directors with Bridges Community Services, and we have just finally recently gotten approved to have some tiny homes built in Muncie, Indiana for the homeless. And so that's been a big accomplishment to be a part of that. I'm around positive people. I also come to Indianapolis monthly meeting with the Journey Beyond Redemption ladies of mentors who once came inside the prison where I was at and mentored to us. And now I sit in the presence of them and other ex-offenders here once a month. And I have been doing that since I got home. And it's been a great help to be in a positive environment and with positive people.
Are there specific relationships that have encouraged you, and how have they encouraged you to achieve your goals?
Yes, there is. It helps to know that you can be in the presence of someone who understands you and encourage you and have that support, because all the time you don't have it from the people you thought you were going to get it from. For example, I thought I would have gotten it from my family, but after I have done 2 decades, a lot of my family members were no longer here when I got home. Like Mom and my dad, I lost them during my incarceration. But it helps to have people who can listen to you and know and understand where you're coming from and where you're trying to go.
Did you get any specific counseling, professional counseling, after you left prison?
Yes, I did. It's funny because during my incarceration, the whole 2 decades, I never felt the anxieties, and I didn't have to go through any mental health counseling or anything. But once I got home, it was so difficult that at one time I did have to go get counseling in the beginning, as soon as I got home actually. And it helped to go and be counseled, and they could understand what I was reaching for and explain to me, help me get myself humble enough to strive further in society.
Well, Shirley, we have a number of viewers who are also re-entering the community here in Indianapolis and elsewhere. If you had to give them advice on what they should do to best succeed in their re-entry to the community, what advice would you give them?
I would give them advice to know that it's not going to be as easy as we all would want it to be. Coming out of incarceration into society. First, you're excited. Of course, you're excited to be at home. But you have to start, and you're going to have to reach out, and you need to find positive resources that will be able to help you in your own life and decisions to be successful out here. And I did do that. I gave it some time. At first I was anxious and anxiety had taken over, but then I had to find that inner peace and that spiritual being inside to humble you and just know that you can have confidence to believe that it will get better. And with myself, I want to be an example for those starting, coming out of incarceration, that you are not alone. You're not the first to encounter these ways of living in society, and that I did it and they can do it too.
You say that you speak before some groups. Can you identify a few of the groups you've talked with?
Yes, I spend time, I speak in church. I've spoken several times with my testimony in church. When I got home, that was the first time I spoke, a couple times. And Also, I go to the Redemption's house, and I speak to the girls there. And a lot of them are ex-offenders or people who are striving to get back into society and be successful. I also am a member of the board of directors with the Bridges Community Services in Muncie, who helped me get housing and employment when I got home. So I'm on that board of directors now, and so I'm in the community reaching out to others who may follow the same footsteps I had once did.
I want to thank you again, Shirley, for coming with us this evening and sharing your experience with our audience. Again, this is Shirley Cooper from Muncie, Indiana, and this is David Richardson with Beyond the Bridges and Journey Beyond the Redemption. Good evening.